Welcome back to the AI Breakdown. Today, we are talking all about the state of the AI chip wars. And obviously, any conversation about said chip wars has to start with Nvidia. Yesterday, Nvidia CEO Jensen Huang made a set of announcements in LA about new generative AI initiatives from Nvidia. And so let's start by looking at what was announced and how it relates to this larger AI chip battle. First up, for those of you who think the metaverse is dead and just a hype cycle gone by, it's live enough that a company as big as Nvidia is still investing resources in it. Nvidia had some updates about its Omniverse platform yesterday. Specifically, they say they're advancing the development of OpenUSD. USD stands for Universal Scene Description, and Nvidia describes it as a 3D framework enabling interoperability between software tools and data types for the building of virtual worlds. And they actually make an analogy to help understand the comparison point for these initiatives. Jensen said at the event, just as HTML ignited a major computing revolution of the 2D internet, OpenUSD will spark the era of collaborative 3D and industrial digitalization. NVIDIA is putting our full force behind the advancement and adoption of OpenUSD through our development of NVIDIA Omniverse and generative AI. The second big generative AI announcement from NVIDIA was their AI Workbench. The NVIDIA AI Workbench is, they say, a unified, easy-to-use toolkit that allows developers to quickly create, test, and customize pre-trained generative AI models on a PC or workstation, then scale them to virtually any data center, public cloud, or NVIDIA cloud. So effectively, this is another entrant into the enterprise AI workspace. If you're a regular listener of the show, you will have heard me talk about, for example, Amazon's Bedrock, which is making a bet that there won't be one winner-take-all model, but that enterprises who have a keen sense of needing to control their data end-to-end, and a real fear of losing that data for training purposes to some third party, are likely to opt for something that's much more customized and built on either A, open source tools, or B, enterprise-grade AI platforms that are built by partners they already trust with their data. That's the play that Amazon is going for, and it seems like that might be something that NVIDIA is trying to do as well. Manavir Das, the vice president of enterprise computing at NVIDIA, said, enterprises around the world are racing to find the right infrastructure and build generative AI models and applications. NVIDIA AI Workbench provides a simplified path for cross-organizational teams to create the AI-based applications that are increasingly becoming essential in modern business. Giving more detail about what it actually does, they write, access through a simplified interface running on a local system, NVIDIA AI Workbench allows developers to customize models from popular repositories like Hugging Face, GitHub, and NVIDIA NGC using custom data. NVIDIA's Dr. Jim Fan, one of the mainstays of AI Twitter, tweeted yesterday, happy to share that NVIDIA is partnering with Hugging Face. We love open source software community. NVIDIA DGX Cloud will be accessible with Hugging Face to create and customize generative AI models for the enterprise. Yes, we do have a cloud. The official announcement reads, integration of NVIDIA DGX Cloud and Hugging Face platform to speed LLM training and tuning simplifies customizing models for nearly every industry. CEO Jensen Huang again said, researchers and developers are at the heart of generative AI that is transforming every industry. Hugging Face and NVIDIA are connecting the world's largest AI community with NVIDIA's AI computing platform and the world's leading clouds. Now, as part of this, Hugging Face is spinning up a new service they call Training Cluster as a Service, which will help simplify the process of creating new custom models for the enterprise. But maybe the biggest announcement, at least when it came to what Wall Street was thinking about, was around the forthcoming next-generation GH200 Grace Hopper superchip. Basically, we had gotten information about the chip in the past, but at yesterday's event, we learned more about the platform built around it. NVIDIA says that this platform will deliver 3.5x more memory capacity and 3x more bandwidth than the current generation offering. The other big thing that we got was information about availability. NVIDIA says leading system manufacturers are expected to deliver systems based on the platform in Q2 of calendar year 2024. Now, one of the big use cases that NVIDIA is looking at is, of course, the next generation of data centers. In fact, Huang said in the address, this processor is designed for the scale-out of the world's data centers. Now, NVIDIA is by far the dominant player in the AI chip space. Estimates I've seen suggest that they have between 80 and 83% of the AI chip market. Their biggest competitor is, of course, AMD. And just a couple months ago, AMD announced its own new chip, the MI300X, which is meant to challenge NVIDIA's place at the top of the AI heap. Now, not surprisingly, AMD has said that this new chip and the architecture surrounding it was specifically designed with large language models and other AI models in mind. When AMD premiered the chip, they pointed out that it can use up to 192 gigabytes of memory compared to NVIDIA H100's 120 gigabytes of memory. The argument is that this would improve inference, and that by adding memory on AMD chips, developers might not need as many GPUs in total. Importantly, AMD also added a software package around its AI chips, which is something that Nvidia offers and has historically given them a lead. Now, outside of these chip giants, there are also a number of startups that are trying to elbow their way into the space. One that made news recently for a 9-figure investment from Hyundai and Samsung was Tenstorrent. Part of what makes Tenstorrent notable is the extremely high-profile team that they brought on, including CEO Jim Keller, who has previously worked on AI chips at places like Apple. And one of the interesting things about this most recent funding announcement is that the participation of Hyundai was more than just financial. Hyundai Motor put in $30 million and Kia put in $20 million, and part of their plans are to partner with Tenstorrent to jointly develop chips that can be built into future vehicles. Other chip startups that have recently raised money include Sema.ai, IR Labs, and Ethernovia. However, the other big chip player might be the big tech companies themselves. In April, reports came out that Microsoft had been working on its own AI chips for years. From The Verge, Microsoft is reportedly working on its own AI chips that can be used to train large language models and avoid a costly reliance on Nvidia. The information reports that Microsoft has been developing the chips in secret since 2019, and some Microsoft and OpenAI employees already have access to them to test how well they perform for the latest large language models like GPT-4. The project is apparently codenamed Athena. Google is also apparently making a push for its own chips. Just a couple weeks ago, the Wall Street Journal published a piece called "In Race for AI Chips, Google DeepMind Uses AI to Design Specialized Semiconductors." Google has been working on their Tensor Processing Unit chip since at least 2016. And the new report had researchers from Google's DeepMind claiming that they had, using AI, discovered a more efficient and automated way of designing these chips. Amazon has also discussed making its own AI chips. In a conversation with CNBC, he said, "I think of generative AI as having 3 macro layers, and they are all really big and important. The bottom layer is the compute, all the machine learning training and inference. What matters in the compute is the chip in there. There has really been one chip provider. Supply is more scarce and it's expensive. It's why we've invested over the last few years in our own customized training chips and inference chips, which will have much better price performance than anywhere else. We are quite optimistic that a lot of the machine learning training and inference will be done on AWS chips and compute." So TLDR, Nvidia is the 800-pound gorilla in this space, but everyone is coming after them. There are established competitors like AMD, novel startups trying to use partnerships to get a leg up like Tenstorrent, and of course all the biggies like Amazon, Google, Microsoft, OpenAI who don't want to be at the behest of any other company. And frankly, right now, it appears that there may be enough market to go around for everyone. Just 3 days ago, CNN wrote, "The crushing demand for AI has also revealed the limits of the global supply chain for powerful chips used to develop and field AI models." CNN points to Microsoft's annual report, which identifies for the first time the availability of GPUs as a risk factor for investors. During his testimony before the Senate in May, OpenAI CEO Sam Altman joked about how ChatGPT was struggling to keep up with all of the demand for its service. At that time, Altman said, "We're so short on GPUs, the less people that use the tool, the better." Now, part of the issue isn't just that the demand for AI increased so fast, but that the makers of GPUs also have bottlenecks around a number of the key supplies for actually manufacturing more chips. And finally, there is the political dimension of all of this. 3 weeks ago, representatives from Nvidia, Qualcomm, and Intel were at the White House to discuss US-China policy when it came to the export of AI chips. Reuters writes, "The chip industry is keen to protect its profits in China as the Biden administration considers another round of restrictions on chip exports to China. Last year, China accounted for $180 billion in semiconductor purchases, more than a third of the worldwide total of $555.9 billion, and the largest single market." Now, in the wake of the existing export restrictions, Nvidia started selling a tweaked and depowered AI chip specifically designed for the Chinese market. But now some politicians in Washington are saying even that should be restricted. As wonky and technical as it might seem on the outset, the story of the chip space, from an industry perspective, a competitive perspective, and a political perspective, is going to be absolutely integral to how AI develops and evolves. So hopefully this gave you a better sense about where the chips lie right now. Pun absolutely intended. And I, of course, will keep you posted as more developments happen. If you're enjoying the AI Breakdown, please click that like or subscribe button. And if you're listening to the podcast, I would so appreciate it if you would take the time to leave a 5-star rating. Those ratings go a long way to helping people discover the show, and I appreciate you for taking the time to do so. Appreciate you guys as always. Until next time, peace.